Peace, world. What is going on? Welcome to Substantial Weekly. My name is Substantial. Whole lot of technical issues today, but we are here. Man, happy Friday to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. First time to the channel, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you enjoy what we do over here. And yeah, man, a lot to cover today. Mostly going to be updates and stuff, just giving y'all a quick rundown, but mostly going to be updates. And then obviously, you know, for those of you who know me, you know I'm an MC, so I definitely got some thoughts about this back and forth between Kendrick and Drake. So we'll talk on that a bit today. And yeah, man, answer your questions per usual, but shout out to everyone in the chat real quick. Let's catch up. 1216 in the DMV. I see what you did there. Hey, peace, Steph. What's going on? David Atkinson, peace. What's going on? Taco, peace to you. Toonflix Animations, peace. What's going on? Warpath, good to see you up in here, fam. Joshua, peace. What's going on? And yeah, Early Bird, my bro, good to see you. Peace to everybody. So real quick. For those of you who haven't liked the button or hit the like button already, please do that. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing that as well. Share it, man. Help other folks join the conversation. Peace was hey, Night Train. Very interested in your opinion today, brother. I appreciate you, man. I was trying my best to twist my homie Tone Deaf, man, trying to twist Tone Deaf's arm to get him to join me to talk about this today, because we've had a lot of conversations behind the scenes, and I thought it'd be interesting to really get the opinions of two MCs, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen a lot of commentary and stuff, a lot of video breakdowns and things of that nature about folks' opinions on the Kendrick and Drake battle. And yeah, some I agree with, some opinions or takes that I find extremely interesting from people who are MCs themselves, especially certain types of MCs. Like, You know what I mean? So we'll dive into all of that in a second. But yeah, man, let me get to some of these other. Said peace to Frank. In a rap beef, can there be an element of art in it? Whew, that is an excellent question, and I think that's part of what makes what's happening between these two artists so interesting, because I feel like there is. I feel like there may be more art in it than some would say. You know what I mean? But also I have a very different outlook on a lot of things. So I'm not surprised that some of what I'm hearing isn't lining up with what other people's opinions are and what they see it as. But we'll get into it in a second. Let me get through a few more comments. Al Green's guitarist is Drake's uncle. I've been tea sipping even listening to this beat. Interested in your take as I hold your opinion in highest regard in the culture. Man, I appreciate that, Mike. Thank you, bro. All right. Frank says, I just listened to Kendrick's second disc. Word. I just heard it. I think I played it about 3 or 4 times. Still dissecting it. Haven't caught everything. I love the rabbit hole that like we get sent down when we listen to certain artists' music, in this case Kendrick's, but full disclosure, I actually liked Drake's first response, probably more than a lot of people were kind of surprised that I liked it as much as I did, and so yeah, we'll get into it in a sec. Wow, I didn't know about Al's guitars. Word. Yes, Graham Central Station. Graham Central Station is fire, by the way. If you've never heard their music, be sure to check it out. Soul Tiger, peace to you. So, hey, so y'all hold on one second. Hold tight 1 second. There we go. I'm looking at my beverages that are super far away from me. So I'm gonna grab those and then we gonna jump into it real quick. But once again, peace to everybody in the chat. Drake probably ain't write his own diss anyways. And I mean, yeah, listen. And then there's that. You know what I mean? That's very possible. I don't know personally, so I can't speak to that too much. But we know that's been the constant conversation around a lot of Drake's music. So yeah, but let's dive into that in a second. Let me grab something real quick. Hold tight. Hola en Mayut. All right, coming back, swinging back. Boom. Yeah, man, nothing worse than doing this for like an hour plus and usually having something to drink nearby, but on a particular day you forget it. So before we jump into everything, hold on. I just listened again. I dislike Drake's verse even more. Wicked. Make me breaking. Nah, man, that ain't it. Nah, I feel you. So all right, so let's backtrack, right? And I'll try to get to the comments as much as possible. Just to let you know, I haven't fully promoted this the way I normally do. I normally send the blast on Twitter, on Facebook, in my Instagram stories. I haven't done any of that. So we're still about 16 deep. It's been fluctuating between like 15 to 20 people. But yeah, man, share it if you know other people who would care to jump in the conversation and all of that. But yeah, so let's start with full disclosure. I have not listened to every record that someone has taken the time to create to diss Drake. I've heard certain ones. I've heard the Pusha T joints. I am aware of the fact that like some of the things that Drake that were pointed out about Drake is things that we've heard from other artists, right? And so 100% got that. So no need to beat a dead horse for those of you who think when you hear me quoting certain things that maybe I'm not aware of those things. But I have not heard every diss track. Like I haven't heard the Ross joint. Quick answer to this question: do I smoke? Nope. I'm super boring, fam. I'm super boring. I don't smoke. I used to drink. I don't drink anymore. But I am drinking this excellence right now. You know what I mean? I got me some orange. It's orange, ginger, pineapple juice. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's pretty amazing. You know, nice and frothy. You know, breakfast of champions. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, I haven't heard every joint, but I have heard. I heard Like That, first opinion about the initial joint that kind of got us where we are now, right? When I heard it, my initial response was, keep in mind, I had only heard Kendrick's part. I thought Kendrick went in. I thought it was dope. I love straightforward disses mixed with like really clever wordplay. Things that like, I like going back into verses and dissecting them. For those who are watching who may not know a lot about me, I'm an MC myself, and how I write a lot of my stuff is there's layers, right? Like I'm never like, I'll write a line in a way where it's easy enough to get for the passive listener. Like the passive listener can hear it and know that, oh man, this dude is talking about blah, blah, blah. And I like the way he's doing that. But then I got the more active listener, the slightly more active listener who maybe will kind of catch like the second layer to what's being said. And then you got the people who like really comb through every word, every syllable, every potential meaning. And so like, I like putting those different layers. Think of like Inception, when they talk about going into the different levels of sleep in the dream world and all of this different stuff. And so, yeah, man, that's the type of writer I am. I love putting something out that sounds really kind of basic on the surface level, but at the same time has deeper meaning. And then the more cryptic lines that maybe get missed by the passive listener. And so more than anything, this battle, what it's really showing me is really just, like, not all listeners are created equal. A lot of people who've been talking about this battle, I've been seeing a lot of people who are leaning more Drake than Kendrick say things like, when they heard Kendrick's response, like things like, I don't like thinking. When I hear stuff like that, it's like, and like, sure, everyone has the right to their opinion, but why would I care about the opinion of someone who just told me they don't like thinking, right? Like, that basically says that, it's like, if you don't put much thought into listening to something, how much more thought can you put? Let's say it different. Why are you putting more thought into your commentary on these rappers like art, right? Their work. Why are you putting more thought into your takes than you are into listening to what they're actually making? And if you admittedly do not like to put a lot of thought into whatever you're listening to, fam, we're not the same. I can't really care about anything you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, because what we're talking about right now is less about who's selling more records and just straight up who's better at being an MC/rapper, whose credibility, like, people's credibility are on the line as artists, as like people at the forefront of the culture, so to speak. And so these things that folks are trying to pretend like don't matter, they actually do matter. And quite frankly, the thing that matters least in the conversation is how many records are being sold. So let's start there, right? I know I was talking about like that a second again, but I'm gonna take a lot of tangents, or as I like to call them, stangents. Dad jokes. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm long in the tooth. I'm a little old. But anyway, hey, bruh, when people are bringing up the fact that like Drake's the bigger artist, this, that, and the third, this is the conversation me and Tone Deaf just had. Grown. Yeah, man. When we talk about another person's record sales, right? And as if that matters. And what I was saying with Tone was basically, it's important to know that Drake's objective is to be the biggest artist in the world and to constantly be in the conversation when it comes to topping the charts, this, that, and the third. That is his objective, right? What he's seeking to do. Now, let's use Spotify real quick. So Spotify has Drake at number 6 in the world, all genres, right? Now, Kendrick, on the other hand, it is not his objective. And keep in mind, Tone Deaf just pointed this out to me on a phone call before I went live. What Tone said is he remembered him when he won a Grammy, basically saying that, he really just wanted to be the most popular underground rapper in the world. You know what I mean? And in other words, you know, for those of you who know what is typically associated with being an underground rapper, right? Not having the most palatable style, not necessarily being the person that's loved by everybody, making content or art that is very dense and sometimes requires multiple listens. Stuff that goes a bit deeper, is not as surface, you know what I mean? These two people have very, very different objectives. And I think that's important to point out. And it makes certain arguments that people are making very irrelevant, because Kendrick is number 19 in the world just on Spotify, right? Number 19 in the world of all genres. And keep in mind, let's be clear that this guy's objective isn't to be a pop artist, yet he's number 19 in the world for all genres. He's not that far removed from Drake's success in terms of popularity and people knowing who he is, right? Even if people don't like Kendrick's music, they know who he is. So out the gate, bringing up those two things, bringing up that difference that Kendrick's not as popular as Drake, and like, so, you know, we know that naturally the masses are going to gravitate to anything Drake does a bit more. And so it's important, like, you know, not to play the popularity contest, because, you know what I mean? Like, we're not talking about who's selling more records right now. We're talking about people's integrity. If you listen to a lot of what Kendrick's bringing up in his bars, he's speaking on this man's integrity more than anything else. Even when we get into the what people are perceiving as colorism, which isn't what I think a lot of people are making it out to be. I do hear what they're implying, but I don't think. I think some of what they're saying lacks a bit of nuance, and they're not getting the deeper point. But anyway, I'm going a bit deep right now, so let me get some comments, and then I'm gonna pick back up. Like what I'll do, so that way it's not just me, just kind of, you know, going in on all of this stuff. I'm gonna focus on some of y'all questions, so to speak. I'm gonna focus on your questions to start out, speak on that first, and then I'll elaborate a bit more on my thoughts. Beef rap could lead to get your T-cap. MF doing 100%. Mother Earth owns neck to my brother. Yes, yeah, man, trying to take care of myself. I love it, as it seems to be breathing life into hip hop again. 100%. I am enjoying it. You know, every track you write. I know I'm getting a contractor's permit because I know I'm about to do some. You're a lyricist to a T. Thank you, fam. I'm obsessed over details type. Yeah, 100%. A huge fan. Got into your music last year and never went back. Spurs, thank you so much. Welcome, man. Thank you for joining us. Ahori says Euphoria is great for dissecting lyrics. 100%. Tons of Easter eggs. I think of. So I'm a person, just so you know, who what type of guy I am outside of just music. When I watch films, if I own the Blu-ray, like, I'm a commentary dude. I watch lots of commentary. I watch a ton of videos really kind of breaking down some of the not so surface elements of film. I do the same thing with music, you know what I mean? And I oftentimes have conversations with other artists where we're always talking about these different things. And so it's levels to this stuff, man. And you know, I'm not always creating stuff with every consumer or every listener in mind. It's like, you know, there's certain boxes for myself that I need to check off before I can really care too much about what other people think. And then I keep in mind that, of course, you know, if I'm putting out music that is ultimately going to be consumed, then yeah, it's to a degree. If your aim is to have a sustainable career in the industry, you need to keep the customer in mind to a degree. That's part of business. But when you're an artist who cares so much about the art, walking that line is extremely important. And I, in my personal opinion, right, just my personal and professional opinion, like, Kendrick to me just does a better job of walking that line. And because of that, he can take people who maybe he'll bring them in with one of his things that are a bit more palatable, right? Maybe a track like Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe. Maybe a track like like We Gonna Be All Right. Maybe you know, like from his last album, that closer song, I Chose Me, I'm Sorry. On the surface, these songs are a bit more palatable than some of his other tracks that really just kind of, you know, go a bit deeper and maybe won't get the most radio play. Something like Sing About Me, you know what I mean? You know, what was it on the last album? My Auntie Is a Man Now. That particular track, you know, this is very heavy subject matter, very dense lyrically. It's not for everybody, but by bringing them in this space, whatever, with a track that's a bit more palatable, he ultimately then allows them to kind of, you know, either fall in love with the art he's creating a bit further, or potentially lose them. You know what I mean? But I love the fact that he basically is on his I'm gonna be me, you know, and to a certain extent, that's what Drake does too, right? Like in terms of like, you know, he does what he does and he's not overly concerned with meeting the needs of a person like me per se, who knows that I've been listening to Drake since he started out. And so I know he's capable of more, you know what I mean? And of course I would like to hear more of that stuff, but I also recognize that he's more interested in maintaining his status. And any artist that's at the top of the game, they're pretty much going to evolve with the times. They're going to ride certain waves. They're going to create waves to an extent too, but mostly ride with whatever the current trend is to maintain their relevance and appeal to that younger demographic that is going to help maintain their relevance on a more mainstream level. You know what I mean? Makes it more hip, makes it more trendy, feels a bit younger, even though he's closer to my age than them. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, let's get back to more of these joints. Don't Let Me Join You Live. I'm sorry, man. I'm going to say the quiet part out loud. I'm tired of debating with dummies. Listen, you know what's funny? I definitely feel you on that part. Only reason why I say like debate wouldn't go as far as saying debating with dummies. Some of the people who I've been seeing make some of these interesting takes about why they think Drake is winning the battle are some of the smartest people I know. And that's what's really, really interesting, right? Like, but when they bring up certain points, like you know, for example, this particular person didn't feel like Drake was winning, but they were telling me how they liked the TaylorMade joint. I really did not like the TaylorMade joint. I like the Push-Ups joint, but I did not like TaylorMade. And it's partly because, you know, if you're going to do an impression of a rapper, you know what I mean? And I get why he did the Pac thing. I get why he did Snoop Dogg. But if you're just going to do it and rap in your style, but then just use their voice, that just felt lazy to me. You know what I mean? Especially, you know, I'm a super Black Thought fan, and Black Thought, when he does an impression of a rapper he's a fan of, it's next level. You know what I mean? Like, he's crazy with that. So it made it harder for me to get into it. You know what I mean? But again, you know, to each his own. I do think I like Push-Ups a lot artistically. You know, there's certain lines or whatever on there that I'm not crazy about. And then there's other parts like, hey man, I love a battle that has wit, like that has a little bit of fun. There could be seriousness too, but ultimately, let's keep it a buck. These dudes ain't rushing outside to kill each other, fam. I don't care how much, you know, as somebody quote unquote from the streets or grew up in certain communities and stuff like that, and in the street and from the streets, in a sense that like, yo, I grew up in the type of neighborhoods that most of these artists are from, who we associate with hip hop. It's just, I don't participate in certain things. You know what I mean? That's never been who I am. So I ain't gonna pretend, you know what I mean, on record to be that. You know, but more than anything, as someone who's participated in battles, it's not just about who sounds the hardest, who says the toughest thing on record. You know, it's also about how clever people are. So a lot of as a graphic designer, I love the cover art for Push-Ups, fam. Like, because of the whole, like, how you big stepping with us size 7 men's on, like, yo, I laughed out loud like when I heard that line. You know what I mean? It's not the deepest line in the world, but it's an effective line nonetheless. There's a shout out to the homie I Am Mini. I battled him back in the day. We were kind of like arch nemesis at one point. I rock with him now. He rocks with me. At least the last time we spoke, he did. You know, and I remember us battling outside of Wetlands back in the day, and the homie saying he used to do this thing that a lot of MCs do, like when they are able to kind of predict your style or predict your patterns, they would listen and then start rhyming the next word that you would use or whatever, basically trying to say that you're corny because I can see what you're doing. I can figure out what you're doing before you even do it. And what I said to him when he was basically after we stopped rhyming and we were just talking aggressively afterwards, no disrespect or nothing, it was just, yo, we had differences of opinion. And when he was saying what he was saying to me about like, yo, like how basic this stuff was, this is in the late 90s that I was doing, what I said, well, I was like, man, you're overcomplicating something that is very simple for the most part. I was like, yo, we're battling in person right now, right? The objective is very simple. My goal is to make them laugh at you. That is it. I ain't gotta prove I'm technically better in all of these different aspects. Like, we're not making records right now. This is, we Johnny on the spot with it right now. Everything is happening in real time. So people don't have as much time to dissect what's happening. And this is not being recorded and then played thousands of times later. It's not what the battle scene is now. So in that particular context, I learned that being quick with the, quick-witted or whatever, just being able to deliver certain lines that weren't overly complicated that people could process on the spot, that's what's going to get me the W in this current situation. Then it was also important to realize that because people over respond sometimes to lines you say, if I compound it with too many clever punchlines, right, in the live situation, people miss all of this other stuff I'm doing. So then you spread it out. Right? Like, I'm not making everything too heavy. But what we're seeing right now with Kendrick, like with the new joint he just put out, with the other one he did before, with Euphoria, and then the 616 in LA. We'll talk about what that means in a second. Oh my God. Like, because these are records that people can run back. I think Kendrick's joint on Spotify did 2 million plus plays first day. Now it's at 11 million plays after a couple days or whatever. Drake's Push-Ups joint is at 40 million. I think Like That is at like 150 million or 140 million, something crazy in terms of the numbers these tracks are doing. Because we live in this day and age where when something drops, people can run it back as many times as they need to. So this is a very different type of battle. And I think that favors Kendrick. That favors Kendrick because him having the type of lyrics where people can take the time to dissect it. And you're seeing a lot of people literally react. Because, for example, I was going to post a video the day it came out. But because I'm an active listener, I'm somebody that likes to listen to things deeply and be very intentional about like what I'm ultimately trying to get out of it. I want to make sure that before I comment on something, I'm pretty sure and clear on my feelings, you know what I'm saying, about this thing. And I have a pretty good understanding of what's happening. And so, yeah, man, I moved away from reacting publicly immediately that particular day and witnessed literally other people like one day saying, yo, man, this joint weak, or it's trash, right? This is people's reaction to Euphoria. Just to then the next day or within an hour or two being coming back and saying, oh my God, hey man, this joint hard. Oh man, I missed it, blah, blah, blah. And then people saying things like, oh man, the beat's weak. I'm like, it was 3 beats, fam. Which beat are we talking about? Which basically let me know most people didn't get past the first act of that of that disc for Euphoria. But anyway, man, a whole lot. Welcome. Me go back to the comments real quick and then we'll get more. I know I'm all over the place. Bear with me. Kendrick never appeals to mainstream. He does his own shit 100%. He got a Pulitzer. Yes, he does. Right. Top 20 is a great place to be. Yeah, straight up. From your perspective as a recording artist, is writing your own lyrics or having the best delivery more important? That's a great question. I like that question. Let's put that up on the screen. So Now, it's what I will say is this, because you asked the question about being a recording artist. Now, if we're talking about recording artists, that doesn't only include rappers / hip hop artists. That includes everyone. I think that if your goal is ultimately to be a mainstream artist, right, like a artist that appeals to the masses, then yeah, it doesn't matter as much to write your own lyrics. Having the best delivery. For example, somebody like Whitney Houston, who's undeniably one of the greatest vocalists of all time, has one of the greatest voices ever, but she did not, God bless the dead, she did not write a good majority of the music we heard from her. You know what I mean? Like, it was written by other people. In some cases, some of her biggest songs were covers, so it's important to keep that context when we're talking about recording artists. Now, in rap, it's a bit different. You know what I mean? It's important to recognize that, one, rap, like, worked really, really hard to be accepted, be taken seriously to begin with. Number one, there are plenty of people to this day who still don't even really consider rap music to be music. There was a quote from, I forget the guy's name, but he basically is known for oxymorons. And one of the oxymorons he dropped was rap music. He was like, rap is not music. And so I bring this point up to say that rappers, to a certain degree, and this is only when we're actually thinking about people outside of hip hop, and a good amount of us don't really care about folks outside of hip hop. But because I exist in spaces where I'm sometimes one of the only representatives of the culture in the space, unfortunately, I gotta consider like how the culture is viewed through the gaze of people who don't spend time in the culture. And that's only not because I'm looking to appease anything or impress them per se. I'm an educator, right? I've been working in education for 20 plus years. So anytime I'm talking to someone who's being respectful, that I feel like doesn't know what they're talking about, or has some takes that they're hot takes, but they clearly aren't qualified to be speaking on that, I never pass up on an opportunity to check them. This is typically an in-person thing for me. I don't really have the time to be going back and forth with all the minions online. So that being said, for rappers, it's different. You know what I mean? You not writing your stuff when people already don't necessarily view rap in the same regard as someone who is a multi-instrumentalist, someone who can read sheet music, right? As a rapper, you got one job, fam. Write amazing stuff and then do a great job delivering that amazing stuff, right? And so if you're only doing half of that, that affects your credibility in hip hop. It might not mean much to people who just consume music on a regular basis. It doesn't mean much to those who are only interested in being recording artists, and to the masses who are only interested in consuming the art, but they don't really care about how it's made. That doesn't mean much, but to somebody like me, it makes a difference. You know what I mean? It's especially when you're presenting a story as your own, but it's really not your words. You see what I'm saying? So I think that's important. All right, let's go to some more of these comments. Boom. The mainstream went to Kendrick. That has so much weight. It also makes Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers even better, in my opinion. 100%, because that's a bold record to do when you're somebody on the level that he's on. That is really like, it's not a record that like he sounds like he's trying to appeal to everyone. Like he's taking it a bit further, you know. Honestly, I just Lupe is eating his terrible words right now. I just hope Lupe is eating his terrible words right now. Major achievement being true and artistic and mainstream. 100%. All right. Thank you, Substantial, for finally making damn sense. Next time we hang out, I'm buying you a non-alcoholic beverage. My man Night Train, yo. Hey, be sure to check out Night Train's channel. Be sure to check out his music. Night Train is a good, a great MC, really great brother. Also a fellow DMV artist. And yeah, man, all around good dude, man. And you know, he's you're welcome to this community anytime, brother. But you already knew that. Euphoria is a diss track about outing Drake as a pedo. There's hints of that in there as well. But yeah, I think it's a little bit more than that though. Tracks that make your hip hop / rap muscle active is always refreshing. 100%. Somebody stole. Hey, that's what's up. That's a deep cut right there for the old school substantial fans. As one stan would say, what you know about the art of work? Hey, see what you did. I see what, man. Listen, I appreciate what y'all doing. You know what I mean? I definitely I see what you're doing there. Thank you. But that's what a good lyricist does: make things accessible and then flip to the B side. Yeah, 100%. SD Sampson says, thank you for making songs with Nujabes and music. And your music, your music brightens my days when I'm sad or confused with my problems. Man, that means a lot. Thank you so much. Stan Kaiser. Hey, what up? Hey, man, that's my man Jamin. So, Jamin, you know what we in here talking about right now. Jay has entered the chat. I was wasting time blowing up Stan's phone with text when I should have been here. Yeah, bro, you know we talk about it right now. Nah, that Sexy Red line by far is the funniest like thus far. Hey, that line is brilliant. You know what I mean? Like when you taking pictures of Sexy Red, I think you see two bad bitches like that. Yo, what was funny, I think it was Ebro was talking about it on Hot 97. He was saying that his lady said her take on Drake is that, and I don't know if it had to do with the battle or she was just speaking in general. She said that Drake desperately wants to be a bad bitch. Like, that is a crazy take. It's quite hilarious, yo. Like, but I think it's this need that, you know, what happens when you see the culture pivoting a particular way and everybody seems like, because for example, women in hip hop have been having an amazing run, and I don't think it's turning back in terms of like, I mean, and we can debate all day about like what's being talked about and this, that, and the third. To that, I just say, I'm like, hey, there are options. There's always options. You may not like it, what's at the forefront, but let's not pretend like Rhapsody isn't out here. Let's not pretend and that her career hasn't been constantly, you know, seeing upward mobility, right? Like, and the same thing with Sampa the Great, right? Someone who's been constantly growing. Like they're out here, fam. We got great options out here. But in general, what happens when women continue to be at the forefront or basically start taking up spaces that were once held by men, and somebody who's constantly their aim is to constantly be at the forefront of this, but they're a man, right? So what do you do now? Like, it's not enough to only appeal to the women in your base, but it's like, you know, you got to align yourself with these other folks. You constantly got to align yourself with folks who are, you know, who are hot at the time, when your goal is to be at the top of the food chain or the top artist of the moment. And so, like, where does it stop? You know what I'm saying? So again, man, Ebro's lady's take that, like, yo, he desperately wants to be a bad. Yo, it's quite hilarious, fam. I know some people might feel a way about the joint, but I found that to be a really interesting take, especially with it coming from a woman, and seeing that in him. At least the last time we spoke, he did. It said that was hella funny. It's the cronies hate for me. T-Dot is 5 hours away, and I can confirm that the accent is fake as fuck. Or Stan, I promise you, once I get my background right, we getting on a group video call and going in on this. Yeah, man, I'm with it. I'm with it, Jay. Like we did at the diner, 100%. Definitely didn't hear the third beat, the first go around on Euphoria. Yeah, and man, he goes in. What up, Malcolm Jackson? You know what I mean? We got Malcolm in the building. Shout out to Malcolm. Let's see. Hold on. Missed the one. People really need to take time to process. The best art is never rushed. Yeah, man, I think that's probably one of the weirdest things about this battle. One of the weirdest things I would say about this battle is people saying that, like, you know, putting folks on the clock, right? Like, you know, Kendrick got a week to respond, or Kendrick got to respond, blah, 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 when Drake did what he did, you know. And then a lot of people have been referencing Ether and The Takeover by Jay and stuff, like, you know, saying either this is as good as that or saying this isn't as good as that. But one of the important things that I've been seeing people, in fact, I saw Night Train post this earlier, I think on Kendrick's feed. I think one of the important things that people are missing is that when we bring up that particular battle, Jay dropped Takeover. It didn't officially hit stores until September 11th, 2001. We all know what else happened on that day. I was living in New York at the time, but technically it came out months before that because he performed it at Summer Jam. In you know, for Hot 97, they would throw Summer Jam every year, and Jay performed it there, you know, and so that's a couple months even before the official release day. And then Nas didn't make a comeback to that until, what was it, December 4th, Jay-Z's birthday, which was hard as fuck, like, you know, on top of the fact that the record was crazy. But yeah, man, it's so I think people need to, I think people with this whole microwave quick response to every this, that, and the third, it's like, man, it's just chess, fam. It ain't checkers. Like, and that's weak shit for real, because it's like, yo, who are you? I ain't on your clock. Like, you say something about me, you clearly want smoke with me. You know, I handle it when I'm ready to handle it. I don't have to do shit in that moment. We see it all the time, man. Like in real life, how many times has been an altercation in the club? Like, money get dealt with, money get embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying we see this happen in real time. He doesn't address it right then and there. He goes outside, gets what he need to get, and then he come up and the whole club shot up. You know what I'm saying? And so, man, like, there are lots of people who respond in the moment. There are other people who are far more calculating. You know, it made me think of, it's crazy. This sounds off track, but it all ties in. I was watching an interview with Eartha Kitt's daughter, and she was talking about how they were in an amusement park in South Africa. And you know, South Africa's issue with, you know, around different races, people with different skin tones, blah, 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 and obviously apartheid. And so they were at an amusement park because they were guests of, you know, there were higher ups in the country that Eartha Kitt was there, you know, as their guest. But someone who worked at the park didn't know who she was. And so he was basically saying that, yo, your daughter can, the girl can stay, her daughter who looks white, her daughter could stay, but she couldn't. And Eartha Kitt basically told her daughter, like, yo, grab your stuff, we're going to go. And her daughter, because her daughter grew up around her mom and knows that her mom's a celebrity and knows that her mom has power, has the ability to potentially resolve this issue right now, tells her, like, mommy, I don't want to go. You should tell them who you are. Tell them who you are. And she basically was like, nah, you know, come on, get your stuff. We're going to go. Now, fast forward, what she ultimately ends up doing is she writes to she lets the people know who brought her there to begin with what happened to her. The people who own the amusement park find out. And of course, they're all like, they're apologizing. How can we make this up to you? Blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And so what she then does is say, she ultimately gets, you know, other kids who normally would not be allowed to enter this amusement park. She basically says that they need to give, she's going to bring in a group of children who normally wouldn't have access to this park along with her daughter. And they need to get free access to the park. And now I need you to also make a substantial donation to these schools in South Africa, in these communities of people who normally wouldn't be able to go to this park. So that was her response. Her response wasn't immediate. It wasn't necessarily the response her daughter thought she should make at the time, but more importantly, it was a far more powerful response. You see what I'm saying? So the benefit sometimes of people taking their time and being a bit more calculating is, yo, you get something that surpasses what your initial expectations maybe were. So yo, just my thoughts on that. Yo, Substantial, in your opinion, what is the best song you were featured in? Best Nuja Best song you were featured in, and why? Quick off-topic answer. My favorite songs that I did with Nuja Best were Ain't No Happy Endings from my first album, To This Union the Sun Was Born, and my second favorite is Waiting for the Clouds, which technically wasn't done until after Nuja Best passed away. So he never actually got to hear that song. Thanks for the question, though. I might have to jump temporarily. Love the art of rap so much. I'm on here during my physical therapy session. I appreciate you. Have a good session, Jay. Love you, brother. I suspect 616 could be the reference to Tupac's birthday. So now, Pete. So what I learned before I went live is that the 616, the 616 in LA thing, I don't know if it's a reference to Pac's birthday, but I did see something that was mentioning, because the cover for the new joint that dropped today is a glove, like almost like the OJ glove, and apparently what was it? It's in reference to OJ's ex-wife Nicole, what was it, the time, or I can't remember if it's the time or day she was buried, which is crazy, fam, if that's what the reference is, especially with the whole glove thing. And so again, we're going so far to it's not just about the lyrics, man. Like the song title choices, the covers that are coming out, this is well thought out stuff all around, and it feels so intentional. It feels like, man, people really care what they're putting out at this moment. And I get it for people who don't love like battle rap, or for people who really just aren't that into rap in general. They just like songs. You know what I mean? I get why people like aren't into it like that, right? If that's not what you came up with. But for somebody like me who loves this hip hop shit, like, hey fam, my wife, literally, her joke is, if I want to get Stan's attention when I'm talking to him, if he's thinking about something else, she literally just says hip hop, and I'm like, huh? And then she'll get back to what she's saying. That's literally something my wife does. So for me, I'm loving this shit, man. I'm sitting here like hip hop heads right now are being fed, fam, and I'm here for all of it. I'm with all the shits. I'm enjoying it. You know what I mean? I like how he delivered what it is, the braids. You don't want to work with me no more? Okay, yeah, it was hard. And to be quite honest, Rhapsody has been one of the few MCs to match or surpass Kendrick in bars on complexion. Yeah, her verse on that joint was stupid. Crody's, my bad. Yeah. It's poking at Drake's song. Yeah, it's definitely a poke at those titles. Yep. And it's also Tupac's birthday, as well as the date that the going down the rabbit hole gets deeper. Eminem took 2 years to respond to MGK with Not Alike. Didn't know that. I think No Vaseline is my favorite diss track. No, that's a classic, man. I'm a big Ice Cube fan. Also, yo, come on. It's Father's Day in Canada. Did not know that. That's hilarious if that's true. Did not know that. Going back to favorite diss track, if I had to pick my favorite diss track all time, it's probably Common's The Bitch in You. Dissing one of my favorite West Coast MCs all time, Ice Cube. Hey, man, listen, The Bitch in You, that joint, man, if you've never heard it, I think it's what people who were real Common fans, who followed him early on and know how crazy he is with the lyrics and the punchline stuff. It's like, yo, you would hear his early stuff, and you, like, as an underground rapper, you're looking at this dude like, yo, he's one of us. That's why so many people champion him. So many underground artists, like underground fans, just always rocked with Common. And so when him and Cube were going back and forth, this is around the time some of the stuff Cube is putting out isn't as good as some of the other things I grew up loving from him. And it's not as raw. Like he still have those moments here and there, but it just wasn't the same level of quality for me. You know what I mean? Personally. And so, like Common just, man, I think if you read that on paper and be like Common versus Ice Cube, you are not expecting, especially after hearing a track like No Vaseline and, you know, him beefing with all of NWA, you're not expecting Common to really, I think if you don't know Common, you're not really expecting this to work out in Common's favor. But fam, oh my God, does he deliver, yo. It's just the way it starts. A bitch nigga with an attitude named Cube. Step to the calm with a feud. Now what the fuck I look like dissing a whole coast? You ain't made shit dope since America's most. Hey, bruh. Like just, he meant business. He meant business, bro. He stood on business and really went in. And later in the song, every time you come out, Joe, in the circle mad, ain't got no choice but to fight. Cause none of you motherfuckers got a chance on the mic. So every time you come out, Joe, I'ma talk about you till you let the bitch in you walk about you. Hey, bro. As crazy as No Vaseline is, like him taking on all the NWA, yeah, man, like the bitch in you definitely trumps that for me. And then if I'm not mistaken, I think Pete Rock produced it. Come on, fam. That's a winning combination. That's a winning combination. So yeah, man. Shout out to Eartha Kitt. Wow, that's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, man. Ain't No Happy Endings is one of my favorite tracks off To This Union the Sun Was Born. Thank you so much. The glove has the Maybach music logo on it. Still wondering what that part is about. Yeah, me too. These things are so cryptic. Yeah, 100%. Have Nugent Best and Jay Dilla parents ever met before? And what are Nugent Best's parents like? I don't know the answer to that question. I've met both of their parents, but I never thought to ask if they've ever met. I met Dilla's mom and am cool with her husband actually, because he's from the DMV. And so I've never asked them if they've actually met. I think the last conversation I had with them was talking about how like there needs to be like this really huge Dilla / Nugent Best event where the families and labels come together and really do something that I think that would be a really, really dope way to celebrate them both, since people put them in the same sentence so much. But yeah, and then I've talked to Nugent Best's parents a few times. It's been a long time since I've spoken with the dad. And his mom had passed at some point. And but yeah, I don't know how much they knew about each other outside of what they heard about each other's children. You know what I mean? But thanks for the question. I remember you talking about your love for that track back in the on Substantial Sunday era. Yeah, man. Yeah, we are both Common fans. Did Common lose the Drake battle, and why? I mean, yeah, be frank, when they were going back and forth, I wasn't very impressed with either one of their trial responses to each other. I do love Common's Canada Dry line. That shit was pretty hilarious to me. But overall, I feel like, you know, what the kids love to say nowadays, yeah, it was kind of mid. That's my thoughts of that overall. I feel like, you know, we know what Common's capable of, but I can't wait to hear this new project, because this new project he's supposed to do with Pete Rock, because it sounds like he's kind of going back to what a lot of us loved Common for to begin with. I'm not mad at some of the newer stuff that he did, but it's definitely it's not speaking to me as much as some of what he did before. And I hate being that guy, because I love to see artists progress and try new things. But it just, I mean, you know, yeah, it is what it is. But thanks for bringing that up. Let's see. Common's diss on Ice Cube was ruthless. Wish I was able to hear it before Nas's Ether, but it was a masterpiece. Yeah. And here, man, look, my thoughts on Ether. To be frank, man, I kind of feel Ether, to me, I mean, it's a masterpiece in terms of like, yo, like diss tracks, like it's the gold standard, right? To a degree. I would put The Bitchin' You, and then also No Vaseline by Ice Cube, and like they're on that level, right? And also what's the joint? I know the name of the track, I'm blacking out. Pusha T's diss to Drake as well. Like these joints are a certain, they're at a certain level, you know what I mean, when we talk about disses. And you know, but the one thing, my only issue with Ether has ever been the beat. You know what I mean? Like I never really loved that track. If that instrumental came on in a cypher, I'd rhyme to it, but I wouldn't be like, yay, this beat. You know what I'm saying? Which goes to this theory I have. I don't know if I've ever said it on this show. I've said it to a lot of homies in our rap conversations, but I don't think I've ever said it to y'all. So let me say it here. Let me say something about Nas, right? I love how people always try to bring up his production selection, you know, the beats he chooses to rap over as a slight at Nas. But to you, I say this. And again, I've said this to a lot of homies who know me outside of the lives and stuff, outside of the folks who are fans, like people who know me personally. We've had this conversation. But if Nas remains in the conversation as one of the top 5 MCs or one of the greatest MCs to ever do it, right? If he remains in that conversation as he has for a very long time, and of all the people who are on your top 5 list, he's the only one that you feel has weak taste in beats, like you don't like his production, but he's still considered one of the greatest to do it, and he remains in the conversation of top 3, top 5, but he's the only one in that conversation that people say that about. Does that make him better than everyone else? Just something to think about. Because if no one else on your list has a problem with beat selection, but Nas is the only one on the list who people are like, yeah, I don't like his beat choices sometimes, or he picks whack beats, but he stays in the conversation. I mean, I would argue that's harder to do, fam. You know what I mean? Because based on what you're saying, he clearly has more misses than most of these people, but how does he still remain in the conversation? A lot of people will argue that it's because of Illmatic that, you know, he has like what a lot of people consider, or most people consider in hip hop, to be the greatest album in hip hop history. But you don't stay in the game 30 years just off the strength of one album, fam. There's plenty of people who've had like landmark records and they go away. Or people who've sold more records than anyone sold at one particular time, and then they fade away. They become irrelevant. They become this, that, and the third. But for him to do what he did, and keep in mind that album didn't have a ton of mainstream success. It was just critically acclaimed. So, you know, he clearly had to do other things to maintain his legacy, to stay in the conversation. So I think that's part of what makes Nas one of the greats, if not the greatest. You know what I mean? He's in my top 5, but he's not even, to me, he's not like the top MC. But that's only on some, if we're just talking about what it means to be an MC. You know what I mean? Because he has his limitations, like some of the greatest rappers ever have their limitations. So yeah, but that's me nerding out on Rapidy Raps. Blah, saw that. Let's get to some more comments. Underrated and lesser known, but Eminem has a diss track called The Sauce years ago that was crazy. Haven't heard that joint, but yeah, M is a savage. You know what I mean? His Benzino diss from years ago still has me saying like mean streets of Boston. Like anytime someone brings up Boston in the conversation, anytime I'm talking basketball, someone brings up Boston Celtics, my first response is the mean streets of Boston, like because of Eminem. You know what I mean? That diss track that he did for Benzino back, I think I was still living in New York when that came out. That joint was hard too, but it's not something I return to often, but it was definitely crazy. The comment I've heard are from most of his Dilla songs and Thelonious. Word, I wouldn't expect him to be ruthless. He's always positive. Yeah, Common, you know, it's one of those things. I think it's important. I think what people forget about with battles, I think a lot of people think that, you know, MCs who are always talking like coming across, like making really hard music or coming across a certain way, or delivering really savage lyrics and stuff, and they real hype, this, that, and the third. I think people assume that these guys will be the winners in most battles, right? Or the person that will be the most ferocious in battles. The person to fear in these battles is always who's the wittiest, who's like the most clever, who literally is capable of like taking one line and putting 3-4 meanings in that one line and then tying it to other things. The person who can give you all of that, and you know, they walk into these fights as the underdog a lot of times, right? You know, and it's just like, I think, you know, when we talk about real fighting, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's a reason why in professional fighting, fights that like happen in real life, you know, and in competition in general, there's a reason why people study tape, right? It's so they can get an idea of what this person's going to do. But the person who there is no footage, right? There is no evidence of them being this savage, right? It's like we got their catalog and their catalog's dope and it's cool and they're a positive person, like you said. We never really seen that side before. And I think what people forget is a lot of professional fighters, a lot of martial artists, they're not walking around here acting like assholes, fam. They're not walking around here picking fights. They're not walking around here looking for trouble. They're just prepared when trouble shows up. And that's why a lot of people end up getting their ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's one of those things that, yeah, man, you know, people say all the time, it's like the loudest person ain't always the toughest person. You know what I mean? You know, the whole barking thing, right? Like when we look at dogs, like we see certain dogs and like we see those small dogs that are like just barking their head off, right? And it's an intimidation tactic. It's to basically keep you from wanting to test them. You know, but they largely, you know, like they bite, it ain't really doing much to you. And then there are other dogs that they'll bark and stuff like that, but when they do, they mean that shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I'm tear your leg off, you know what I'm saying? And keep it in my doghouse for the next couple of weeks. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's levels, bro. There's levels to all of this stuff. So I think it's important to remember that like, just because the MC ain't out there, like somebody like Wordsworth, right? Wordsworth is a dude that doesn't make a whole bunch of music like, you know, always about him being the best. It's a lot of substance, but this dude is brilliant. He's a clever writer. If you've never listened to Wordsworth stuff, highly recommend you check him out. But he's won tons of MC battles and stuff back in the day. And this dude's one of the wittiest dudes in the room, like, you know, when it comes to doing what he does. And rhyme bouts, he'll dial 9 just to get a line out. Anyone who's ever worked in a place where you had to do that, you understand that. But like, there was a time we did a joint with Tone Deaf where I come in with a line, I end with a particular line, and he comes in after me and says, now those were similes, stop mixing the two. An asshole with no talent, that's a metaphor description of you. Hey fam, like there are levels, there are always levels. And so, man, never sleep on the person just because they're not actively looking for a fight. Sometimes people know what they're capable of, so it's like, yo, I ain't out here trying to fight that particular fight. There are other fights that are more important to me. But just understand that if you want this smoke, I got time. I got time. Rest in peace to Uncle George. Uncle George would say, ain't nothing but something to do. I think it's crazy. I think the craziest details on the track is that the producers on 616 are the producers for Taylor Swift, which means 616 was literally tailor-made. If that ain't a rebuttal, fam. Did not know that. This is my first time hearing this. I heard the new diss track today. I have not had a chance to really dissect it. It was against Benzino and just absolutely demolished him. That era Eminem was something else, 100%. Let Love was a dope album. Word. Hold on. Excited about what's next though. Indeed. Ether was a terrible song. Love Nas though. Yeah, man, it wasn't the greatest Nas song. It's definitely not a Nas song I always come back to, but hey man, that joint, yeah, it did the job, fam. It did the job still to this day. Like his way he dissected this dude is crazy. You know, I agree with you about Ether Q and 5. All right. Let's see. Get to some of these comments. More of the comments. Gonna have to watch the rest later. Gonna get in trouble at work. All good, Frank. Appreciate you, man. Take care. How did you feel about Beans versus Kiss beef? Honestly, I don't remember most of it, man. I'm more of a Kiss fan than Beanie. Like, you know, all respect due to both of them brothers, but you know, I'm choosing Kiss every time in that situation. So I honestly don't know how it panned out, because I don't think at the time when they were beefing, I paid a whole lot of attention to that battle. Because even though I rock with Kiss more, like, his music has all, like, I feel like his pen is amazing, but his music's been hit or miss for me. Like, he's a dude that make some great records, but the album overall is never like, oh my God, I'm gonna play this album all the time. I usually just find the joints I like and then rock with those. So quite frankly, I ain't pay a lot of attention to their battle, because in my mind, it's just like, you know how it is. We all got bias. So it's like whoever you really rock with, in your mind, they've already won. You know what I mean? So I don't think I've really paid much attention to that battle at all. What advice would you give a 20-year-old? Well, first thing I would say is to be a little more specific. Advice about what? Because, you know, it's important to remember that, like, not all things are like cookie cutter. So I don't like giving kind of like a general thing to someone, because it might not apply to you. So if you want advice on a specific thing and you're comfortable asking it in this setting, go ahead, shoot your shot. I feel like this is a time for me to do something that I normally would have already done, but I have not. So let me say this real quick. For those of you interested in donating to the channel, you know what I mean? Whether that's via Super Chat, PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, it's greatly appreciated if you consider doing that. This way it allows me to highlight your comments and get to them sooner. If you do it via Super Chat, I can do that right now. But you know, I'm going to get to the questions as quick as I can. Probably going to hang in here for like another 20 minutes and then I'm a dip. I have not talked about anything other than this battle since we've been on here. There was other stuff I wanted to cover. So let me put something in the chat real quick. Anybody looking to support me via merch or via Bandcamp, you can do so here. Let me drop these links real quick. Boom, boom. Or sorry, 1 second, y'all. Typing this up and then trying to make sure there are no typos. So today is Bandcamp Friday, by the way, but here are 2 places where you can support me online if you want to support that way rather than the Super Chat and all of that. So definitely consider picking up some merch or picking up some of the releases. I'm definitely working on stuff behind the scenes, but to be frank, man, like I've been as I mentioned last week and the week probably before that, it's been a ton of stuff happening behind the scenes. You know, I'm planning a trip with my wife abroad for later this year, and then also got to finish Adultish 2.0. Got to take care of a bunch of stuff with the family. We had a recent death in the family too, so got to travel, pay our respects tomorrow, and so it's a lot happening. Good things mostly, you know what I mean, with some challenges here and there that's been slowing up a few things and stuff. So I do have new stuff on the way, but I am definitely running behind schedule. So yeah, but I wanted to let y'all know, if you want to support the channel, these are a few different ways you can do it. Pick up some merch if you can, and then yeah. But let's get to some more comments, and then when we get out of here. Nas Stillmatic freestyle was better to me than Ether in some ways. We weren't expecting it, and he took out the whole crew. Yeah, I definitely would agree with that. I feel like it was a more enjoyable listen just as a track, like overall. Like, of course, I like the beat better, but Ether lyrically, both of them were crazy lyrically. Ether though was it was both. Yeah, both were a clinic, yo. Call that Bama the rapping version of Cisco on the freestyle, yo. That's disrespectful. It was so disrespectful that Cisco hired rappers in Baltimore to diss Nas, like, because he's not a rapper. He wasn't Chris Brown, so you know. But yeah, Anyway, let's see. Funniest part is the essence of hip hop is being able to rap a battle a cappella. So bringing up the beat became a metric later. Battle rap at its core is about bars and delivery. To a degree, yeah, no, I agree to a certain extent. But it's also important to remember too that like a lot of times when battling would happen at the parties, they had to rap over whatever the DJ put on for them. Of course, there were some battles that happened a cappella too. But if they were freestyling at the party, if it was at a party, then yeah, the music was a major part of that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely, I feel like it's important for people to remember that bars and delivery, yo, they matter. And for anybody who tries to downplay the significance of those things while simultaneously complaining about the quality, how the quality of rap has dropped over the years, the irony in those statements, like, fam, you don't see how one is connected with the other. You can't be saying that this stuff don't matter and then complaining that the quality of rap has dropped significantly. Like, you're part of the problem. If you don't hold the artists you listen to a certain standard and you just keep supporting mediocre shit, you get what you get. You know what I mean? And then so like, yeah, man, a whole lot of weak shit gets to pass a lot of times. And I won't allow it. Not on my watch, son. It's just like, yeah, man, it's, yo, yes, beats matter and stuff, and it's an important part of the listening experience. But part of the reason why Ether to this day is so beloved, even though to me the beat's not that great, is because lyrically, this dude went in. Like, he ain't hold back, he ain't hold no punches. He was like, word, how many Biggie lines gonna come out your fat lips? God damn. Like, wow, hey, easy. We're getting disrespectful in here. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. Definitely matters. Peace, KD, great. What's going on? Common has always been peaceful until push. Yeah, man. Has 3 Stacks ever battled anyone? No, not to my knowledge. Not on record, at least. I don't know what he's, any battles he got back into in the day. I do remember him dissing Michael Jackson on a TLC song. Like say something like keeping you on your tippy toes, like tippy toes, like that sellout. Not saying no names, but really, who's bad? Yeah, that's he had some strong opinions about Michael Jackson, but that's that's closest to 3 Stacks diss that we got. Nas still matter, freestyle better, blah blah blah. Yep, saw that one already. I think I went backwards. Yep, there we go. Do that first, then judge the beat and the instrumental. I respect it. Yep, the weakest dogs bark the loudest. Yeah, I'm still catching up to y'all comments. Bear with me. My instructor is 60 years old and can still kick ass. Master Willie the Bam Johnson is from Lafayette Projects in Baltimore and has 7 world championships. You never know he does knuckle push-ups. So what I'm saying, somebody gonna be out here talking reckless. That's what happened to my uncle when he got out of prison, man. Like, he was on a bus. Some young guys was on the back of the bus, and they were blocking the exit. And he basically was like, in his deep voice, excuse me. And they just, ignored him. You know what I mean? He's trying to be respectful. He was like, young man, excuse me, I'm trying to get off the bus. And they just keep ignoring him, talking over him, blah, 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 acting like he ain't there, acting like they don't see him. So then when the next stop comes, and the light comes on in the back, he grabs, I'm retelling the story as it was told to me. He grabs 2 of the guys and then snatches them off the bus as he's getting off the bus, right? Keep in mind, my uncle, I think at the time is maybe in his late 50s, early 60s maybe, right? So, and he was a professional kickboxer at one point in time, boxer. Went to prison for murder, and when he did what he did, like, this was done with his bare hands, mind you. And so yeah, man, he snatched these guys off the bus, as the story was told to me, and literally hit one guy so hard he hits the bus and then bounces off the bus to the ground. You know what I mean? But again, it's one of those things that, like, there's things that we look for in challenge and competition or whatever that we kind of look at these as metrics of how successful this person would be in an altercation. And some of these metrics, some of these things we're judging people off has no relevance in an actual fight. just like some of the things we're talking about in battling. It has no relevance. It has no place in an exchange between two MCs. I mean, we project what we care about in these situations. But a lot of the shit that people are bringing up, I can tell, I'm like, yeah, you ain't hip hop. You know what I mean? Because you definitely wouldn't be talking about that bullshit you talking about if you were, because you know that really has no place at this table. You know what I mean? But you are entitled to feel how you feel, and I'm entitled to not agree with that weak shit. So you know what I'm saying? It's just, it is what it is. Hey, Steph, love you. Be careful. Be careful. Have a great day. Let's talk soon, because I got some stuff I want to build with you and the band about. Stan, I will always wonder, if someone notable were to diss you, what would you do? Would you respond? Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I don't know if Tone is still here. We actually did a diss track back in the day for some dudes who was talking slick about us. So, yeah, so make no mistake. You know, I mean, the reason why every time I do an album, I'll still like have like a battle-ish joint, or a joint that kind of just lets you know, it's like, oh man, this pen still work. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I were called out on something, I have no problem, you know, I have no problem doing what I do. Like, so if someone called me out on record, and I felt like it was something that needed to be addressed, I would definitely do it. If they were trash though, like, they're like, you know, I don't believe in punching down. So like, if someone's super weak or whatever, and it's just like, you know, they're not really making any valid points. There's no substance to what they're saying. There's no like validity to what they're saying. I'm not going to validate them with a response. But someone I feel like is worthy competition or whatever, somewhere where I feel like not only am I going to benefit by going back and forth with them, but I feel like the people who love seeing MCs do what MCs do, if there's some benefit to be received from that, then sure, you know what I mean, I'm open to it. But I don't know if Tone is still here, but yeah, we definitely had some choice words for some artists we had an issue with back in the day, but we ultimately, you know, the top politics of it never came out. Peace, Steph, once again. Early, I appreciate the love. Night Train, thank you. Yeah, I remember, fam. I remember, man. Blessings to you and yours, man. I hope y'all maintaining. Sorry for the love. Appreciate you keeping up with us and praying for you and your family. Thank you. I remember, hey, what up, Kevin? Good to see you up here. We got the other Kevin up in here. You know what I mean? We got Early Bird, who's also a Kevin, but then we got Kevin Sabi up in this joint. That project called More Bark and Less Biting. Yeah, I can't remember if that was a solo joint or a collab. It was actually the name of a tour that we did. More Bark, Less Bite, because Bark was a More Bark, Less Bite, and it was a play on the fact that MCs be biting styles, blah blah blah. This old school slang. But then Bark was actually Bop Alloy, and then it was Random, Mega Random K Murdoch. So BARK, Bark. You know. That's what that was for. Do you know if that project's still available? So once again, it was just a tour, but thank you. Okay, I just got called an Alabama wind chime by a streamer. I don't even know what that means. You know what I mean? All right, got a couple more, and I'm gonna get ready to dip up out of here. So let's see. It says, yeah, that's why you're on my Mount Rushmore. You could have easily sold your soul to a label, but made sure you owned your masters instead of, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things, man. It's not easy to do. Sometimes will stop you from getting certain opportunities to go about it the way I've chosen to go about it. But at the end of the day, you know, part of this is thinking about my legacy and my family's legacy. And I don't want my family to have to be chasing down certain people to get money that is owed to me, right? And so, you know, a lot of times with these relationships with past labels you worked with, not all of them, but sometimes, like, you know, unless you send them a reminder that, hey, I need an update on my sales and what I'm supposed to get, a lot of these companies, it's not automatic. Like, you know, you sometimes, and I'm only speaking as an indie artist, like I've never been signed to a major label, so I can't speak on what their situations are. But we've seen publicly where people were owed money and they ultimately had to go to court just to get money that was owed to them. And I've definitely been in situations where, yeah, man, now rather than people just taking the time to take a look and say, hey, let me see if any money's owed to this particular person. They just kind of keep operating business as usual. And until you call and say that, you got to get XYZ, it don't happen. And so I'm very aware of the fact nothing's finite. Like, we're not going to be here forever. So I want to make sure that that's something my family ain't got to deal with when my time comes. And easiest way to kind of deal with that is to make sure that, I own as much of my catalog as possible. So it'll, some of it now, like the residuals, it's like passive income. So that's going to be a good thing when my time comes, because we know that unfortunately people are more popular in death than they are while they're alive. And so, I know that the value of my catalog will be a bit higher when my time comes. So regardless of who goes first, whoever's still around to benefit from that, whether it's just my children or someone else in the family, you know what I mean? Or like, my wife, obviously, that's one of the things about maintaining some control over your catalog and all of that. That's just one of the things. Tough part is that you got to also build up a catalog that has value too, because you can have a ton of stuff, like a ton of content, and own all of it, and then it can have next to no value, right? So something to keep in mind. It's all about how we navigate this biz. I can see it both ways. I could also envision you saying your past in getting involved in beefs. Yeah, 100%. Like, if I got beef with somebody for real, like, like when I see you, it's gonna be a problem. That's different. You know what I mean? Like, but with the rap stuff, I mean, part of the reason why I don't still focus on battle rap is because, there's a line from the Avengers, I think it's Avengers, the second Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, where Vision says, I think it was that movie or it was another one, but he says, our very presence invites challenge. I love that line because I think that's what I think that was Cole's misstep. Cole decided he didn't want the smoke, but his very presence invites challenge. He's constantly talking about being the best and nobody wants smoke with him. And if anybody stepped to him, blah, blah, blah. And then someone did, right? And the crazy thing is, he ain't really stepped to Cole. He just basically was just like, hey, man, I'm talking to this guy. But if you got a problem, you can get this smoke too. You know what I mean? It was more like that than I really want to have a problem with you. But he chose to respond, and then he backpedaled. And to a lot of people who say they're cool with what he did, and I'm cool with what he did too, as long as going forward, you're not out here saying, you're not out here inviting challenge when you clearly back down when someone challenged. You know what I mean? So it's just like, change your tone. You know what I mean? Mind your tone, young man. Mind your tone. That's it. You know what I mean? And so because I'm not actively looking for people to step to me, I don't walk around, talking shit all the time. But because I enjoy the art of this, and that's a part of it, I still do write. Like, I still do have moments where I dabble, because, it's the equivalent of, practicing martial arts, even though you're not necessarily like fighting all the time. It's like, you want to know how to defend yourself. You want to make sure that you stay in shape. You want to maintain, your flexibility, your agility, all of these different things. So when you need to do what you need to do, you're ready. So like, it's no different for me. You know what I mean? Kevins of the world unite. That's funny. Off topic, have you ever worked with a rapper named Greg Green? Doesn't ring a bell. I have worked with an artist named Greg, but I don't know if their last name was Green. All right, Kevin, no problem, man. It's great to see you here while we're live. What's good, King? Good to see you doing well. Rap and hip hop is alive and well. 100%. Yeah, man. Peace, King B. Yeah, hey, what up, NDO? Good to see you up here, fam. Man, we are good. We're good. Blackheart, peace. What's good, fam? Good to see you up in here too, man. All right. Let's see. Beef. We fighting when I see 100%. That's what real beef is. Rap battles. Tune grown man writing aggressive slam poetry over beats to each other. And yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Completely agree. Rap battle is a sport. Yeah, man. That's all it really is. Wait, I think you missed the question. What was the question? I missed. If you don't mind, just do me a favor, copy and paste what the question was, because I'm trying to close out. Hey, peace. What's going on, fam? Good to see you up in here as well. They should all get on stage together and do a live rap battle for fun. Hey, man, I'd pay to see it, because, you know, a live battle is very different. It's a very different thing. Cypher battles are different from organized live battles that are judged by an audience. Live battles that are judged by other MCs or judges, those are different than ones that are judged by the audience. There's different types of joints. These organized battles we see now, these battle leagues where people know who they're going up against months in advance and are allowed to prepare material based on who their competitor is. That's a very different situation than the type of battling I came up in, where like we just signed up and then we didn't know who we were going up against until they called the names. So I literally just unless I knew you personally, I just had to work with what was in front of me and the little bit I knew about you, either that I found out that night or if I've had some other interactions with you. You know what I mean? So this stuff looks very different in different settings, right? Because let's be clear, you know what I mean? Just because these dudes are nice in certain situations and making some great diss records, that don't necessarily mean they do it well on stage, you know what I mean? So, but I'd definitely be down to see it. I'm good, man. I got a cold, but I'm maintaining. Yeah, man, it's good to have you back up in here, fam. It was, if the rap battle era Stan could see current you and all you've accomplished since then, what would he say? What would he / you have to say? I think battle rap Stan knew that battle rap wasn't the end all be all, right? Like it was never. It's always been a tool, right? In my toolbox. It's never been the only thing. The goal was to always be able to make good music. You know, I learned how to produce so I could start to make my own beats, because I didn't have access to beat makers all the time. And so the objective was ultimately to be able to make great music. But because I grew up in the culture, like I knew the importance of being able to handle my own if tested. And so I think young me would look at what I built and say like, I didn't really see it going in that direction. But like a lot of what my goals were in terms of having real impact on my community, helping out people from the different communities I serve and using hip hop as a vehicle to do that based on the reputation I built. That's something that I wrote in a letter to Pratt Institute when I applied to go to college there. Like I talked about like how I wanted to have that type of impact on my community. I wrote that when I was 17. In fact, hey, that's something. Look, I'm gonna grab something real quick. It's a letter. We're gonna close with this. I'm gonna grab this letter. This is a letter I wrote to the college I was applying to, Pratt Institute, that I ultimately went. And this will give you an insight on what type of person I was at 17. And I think will give some context to what I'm saying. So hold tight real quick. All right. So yeah, yo. That's, I don't know, boom. So this right here, my sister found this in her house. And yeah, man, she was... she gave it to me and then I had to frame it. But what it basically says, this is literally the statement of purpose that I wrote to Pratt Institute when I applied for the fall semester of 1997. So I probably wrote this in probably like 96 or something like that. So it says, ever since I was a child, when I could not find the words to express myself, I have used the arts. Growing up in hostile neighborhoods, art was one of the few things that kept me out of trouble. And when I say art, I'm talking about visual art. Like for them, I'm using art because they're basically they're visual art school. It's an art institute. So, but really, when I say art, I'm also talking about music. They don't know this though. So it says, instead of hanging out, many days I stayed inside working on sketches, designing everything from comic book characters to tennis shoes, also making beats, writing lots of raps. You know what I mean? And making demos. But my main reason for choosing to study the arts is my desire to be successful. A few of my family members would be considered professionally and financially successful. I have had a few adult role models. My mother has been one of them. She has helped me realize that I have the ability to be professionally and financially successful, and to be a role model for my younger family members, for younger members of my extended family. I feel that I can make a great contribution to my community and society at large by attending Pratt Institute. I will work extremely hard in college to lay the foundation for a successful career in the arts. As a result, I will become a role model that younger members of my community will seek. When I was younger, I always admired my older brother's natural drawing ability. I wanted to be as good as him, maybe even better. After completing numerous sketches, I would oftentimes take them to my father, seeking his approval. Each time he would compare me to my older brother, to my older and more talented brother, and tell me I could not draw. Most children might have quit long ago, but I only worked harder. In eighth grade, I auditioned for and was accepted into the Visual and Performing Arts Magnet program at Suitland High School, a rigorous academic and arts program. As a student in the visual arts department, I have taken foundation classes in painting, drawing, photography, design, sculpture, printmaking, as well as advanced level classes in printmaking, painting, and computer graphics. My teachers have encouraged me to enter local, regional, and national art competitions, right? So even with the visual art, like this is battling to a certain extent. Entering these competitions, putting my work up against other people is still just another form of competition. It's the sports part of the arts, right? Where I've received a number of awards at all levels. They have helped me to believe in myself and the quality of my artwork. In addition, I'm a freelance graphic designer. Keep in mind, I'm 17 when I wrote this. Freelance graphic designer and illustrator, designing brochures, posters, and t-shirts for a variety of clients. I only wish my father was still alive so I could say to him, "Hey, Dad, look at me now." So, just when I think about what younger me would think, you know what I mean? I remember, I'm very clear on who I was at that particular time. And homies like my man True from Godzilla will often say, he's like, yo, Stan's the same dude, like, to a degree. You know what I mean? So I think, I look back, if younger me could see where I'm at, I think he'd be proud, man. You know what I mean? Like, all the battle rap stuff aside, like, I think based on where my mind was then, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I think some people's expectations of where they think I should be differ from mine. And of course, I wouldn't mind being a little more well-known. I wouldn't mind making a bit more money, because I know how I would leverage those things. I know what I would use it. I know what I use my platform for. I know I do a lot to lift up other artists, especially artists that I know the community could benefit from the work that they do, in front of the camera, behind the camera, in front of the mic, behind the mic, in front of the canvas, behind the canvas, so on and so forth. That's why I push the type of folks I push a lot of times. And so, yeah, man, influence when you're clear on what you're going to use that influence for, especially if it's beneficial to more than just yourself, it's a good thing to have. But make no mistake, like, I'm very I believe I'm very successful. I believe I've succeeded at achieving a lot of what I set out to do. And so when I read that, and which was written by 17-year-old me, and look at where my life is now, I did all right, man. And I'm still doing more. That's the dopest part. So yeah, that's what I think younger me would think. You know what I mean? I appreciate you asking that. All right. But yeah, man, on that note, I'm gonna get up out of here. Hey, Early, love you, man. Thank you for sticking around this long. Couple questions. I'm gonna read off a couple of these joints. By the way, Sub, I love that track you did with Koma Chi. Love to see Japanese and Western hip hop artists collaborating. Nah, 100%, man. Shout out to Koma Chi. Shout out to Uyama Hiroto as well, man. Love them folks, man. Good people. That's honestly so awesome that you still have so many important and meaningful things from your past. Yeah, man. Nah, I appreciate that. Shout out to my sister Priscilla for keeping it, you know. Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Thank you. How much you've grown. Yo, thank you. I appreciate it. And I see what you did there, Kevin. You know what I'm saying? I see what you did. Deep, man. I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, I love that adultish reference. No doubt. Good to hear that you're that you are a champion and successful to this day. Appreciate you, brothers. So listen, man, I gotta get out of here. This was definitely a long one. I know I started to talk about the Kendrick stuff and the Drake stuff. You know, I think this is good for hip hop. You know what I mean? You know, and I'm enjoying watching it all play out. I'm definitely leaning more toward what Kendrick's doing than what we've gotten from Drake. However, I'll say once again, I enjoy push-ups. I didn't think it was bad. I liked it a lot more than what we got from J. Cole, you know what I mean, which I never thought I'd end up saying. So yeah, those are my thoughts. On that note, I'm gonna wrap up. I wish I had one of the homies live with me, because I feel like I'd have been a bit more focused and really got to some other points that I've been making. But yeah, we talked about a lot today, so I'm gonna wrap up. Indio says, plus I know you'll be tripping if you scroll up because of the shenanigans. I already know, man. Y'all be wilding in the comments. I love it though. Great letter to your past self, Stan. Of your past self, Stan. About to head out. Peace. Soul Tiger, take care, man. All right, peace. Thanks for the live. It was my pleasure, man. Shout out to so many of you, the new folks who showed up today, folks who normally aren't in the chat. It was great, man, to have y'all a part of today. I hope y'all will tune in every week, or at least when you're able to. Be great to have you here. And anybody who's watching right now who hasn't subscribed already, please do so, so you can get more content. And by the way, if you don't mind donating to the channel, it's greatly appreciated. I'd like to say it's keeping me and these babies off these poles, one donation at a time. So you are appreciated. Yo, have a great weekend, y'all. Ken just released a new disc called, yeah, we were talking about that at the top of the joint. Yep. All right, seriously though, keep safe, y'all. 100%. All right. Always asking the long-winded questions. My bad. Nah, man, never mad at it at all. It makes for great conversation, great content. So I appreciate the thought you put into it. You know what I mean? So on that note, I'm gonna get out of here. What I'm gonna do, because we got so many folks here that normally aren't here, I'm gonna throw a music video up to close out. Don't know if some of y'all seen it. I'm sure most of y'all have, but this song right here is from the album Adultish, out right now. Available on vinyl and CD. Also available on Bandcamp. Today is Bandcamp Friday, so go support. But yeah, man, we're gonna close out with the long route, and I'll see you soon. Talk to you sooner. Y'all have a great weekend. Peace.
Welcome home. Substantial.
We want to change it. We need it on the double. You know. But Tamara Dobson said progress has to be a slow thing for it to be definite. That's real. So I hit up Tamara Wellens and we decided to take the long route home. Let's go.
We rarely choose a path, but success is all but secure. We test the limits daily, ensuring we're built for more. They stepped over my body while washing up on the shore. Ironically, I wasn't self-doubt and seldom endure. I'm no stranger to struggle, I become a connoisseur. No standing for experience, wisdom ain't in brochures. But I find greatness synonymous with the journey that's arduous. Surviving don't always make you popular with the populace. Some would rather get posthumous recognition. Easier to miss than love you, cause love requires commitment. Back when I was a pauper, but chose to offer enrichment. I named my nephew wealth long before we knew what rich meant. Not defined by my pigment, but I'm proud descendant of men and women who know what winning in our country and their skin meant. An independent family man with a penchant for finding love without limits beyond the hate and resentment.
We took the long route home, going through the unknown. Our yellow lights turn green. We hold on to
pressure we under is unrelenting. And it seems the distance we travel is never ending. Question our decisions when life is testing our gumption. And learn that goals ain't really last stops, they're more like junctions. Path that lead to businesses, others that lead to babies. Some that lead to a classroom and others that lead to stages. Some that lead you to prison and others the early grave. But about heaven on earth while searching the path to pave. But son, ain't take time to chill. This took time to build. Finding each other's easy, the hard parts to find the will. To keep the ship afloat when others give up hope. Winning each other's sail over anchor when we need it most. So before the curtain call or the counter gavel, I answer when my purpose call. We got ground to travel. Locale don't matter when the tank's full as your heart is. Seen the world with home is still where my heart and the art is.
We took the long route home, going through the unknown. Our yellow lights turn green. We hold on to our song. We took the long route home, going through the unknown. Our yellow lights turn green. We hold on to our song. We took the long route home, going through the unknown. Our yellow lights turn green. We hold on to our song. We took the long route home, going through the unknown. Our yellow lights turn green. We hold on to our song.
Went all out. Went all out. I took the long route, no help. Went all out. Went all out. I took the long route, no help. Went all out. Went all out. I took the long route, no help. Went all out. I took the long route, no help. Went all out.
I'm keeping it together right now, but you don't understand, I dreamed about this moment for most of my life. You know what I mean? Like I've dreamt about this most of my life. I've done my DNA to know exactly where my ancestors are from, and this has been something 43 years in the making that I've been waiting for to come here and be with brothers and sisters like yourself. So I don't take this lightly. You know what I mean? I'm going to remember this for the rest of my life, and I really appreciate being able to share this with y'all.